And I learned all sorts of stuff. And then once I started actually working a job after my education in the military, I did night school. And that's how I became more or less the equivalent of a Master of Science, but it's not or Bachelor of Science rather. But it's not, there's no formal piece of paper that says Bachelor of Science on
You
it.
just applied real-world skills in the real world and acquired a resume of qualifications.
Nobody asks me what piece of paper I got 40 years ago anymore. They ask me what I did and what I did for people that I worked for in my last job.
Right, something that you can't ask politicians because they don't have a good answer. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back.
Hi, this is Rich Gerard, host of Gerard at Large in the Morning. The Manchester area's only locally owned, locally operated, focused, and interested, riveting radio show heard live every Monday through Friday from 6 to 9 on 90.7 FM WLMW, New Hampshire Family Radio, and available 24/7 live or archived at GerardAtLarge.com. Be sure to tune in.
Senator Jeanne Shaheen said, if you like your current health plan, you can keep it. That's not true, Senator. 22,000 New Hampshire citizens have been kicked off their insurance plans. Hospitals in Rochester, Concord, and Portsmouth, they aren't allowed to provide care under the exchange. Senator, you were wrong in your comments. You should apologize for your misleading remarks. I'm calling Senator Shaheen at 750-3004 and telling her I want my doctor back. You should too.
Paid for by saberpac.org, not authorized by any candidate or candidate committee.
All right, we are back. Coming up soon on Grog Talk, Patrick Page, the flag guy, Josh Moore, New Hampshire House candidate, and Eileen Landis. We'd like to remind you to visit granitegrok.com and, of course, our sponsors here at CNHT, sort of and unofficially. And you can check us out on iHeartRadio, Stitcher, TuneIn, Spreaker, and iTunes. Get the app or listen online. We are also on Ustream and on YouTube and, of course, Facebook and Twitter, as I mentioned, and soon to be on Google Plus because we're going to start experimenting with some streaming options using Google Plus.
Which means we'll be even more amateurish for a while, but it'll be a whole lot of fun.
Yes, we will fumble and bumble our way through that new experience, but on the way to things greater and broader in our effort to make this program accessible to anybody who is interested in hearing it.
Kind of like when I go out in the field with just me and my Android or me and my iPad and my iPad and and go exploring events and other
It's
stuff.
a learning experience. You try stuff out and you keep trying until it works. It's just like working. You got to try things and apply yourself. And my dad always just said, it doesn't matter what you do, just be the best you can at it. And that pretty much has worked out for me because I don't make a ton of money, but I have a nice house and a yard and kids and dogs, and I even have a white picket fence there. If that's your thing.
I was never that much in favor one way or the other of white picket fences just because they take a lot of maintenance. But if you like them, they're lovely things.
Well, it's one of those situations where my house, it's kind of near the road. You've been there.
Yeah.
You've seen my white picket fence. Well, that's the edge of my septic. And it just sort of rises up from some trees, and then it's a big flat space.
Yeah.
And it's all on one side of my yard, and it's visible from the road.
Yeah.
And if I'm looking at it and I'm going, I should put a fence there. I just picked the picket fence because it happened to be the least expensive fence I could put up myself at the time.
Yep.
And I built a little arbor, and I put it right where you could walk from the front door out into the backyard, and I just kind of fenced that off, which really broke the space up. And now you don't just see my septic and go, oh, there's their septic. You see my fence. And it's landscaped in front, and you can't really see behind, and it gives you a little more privacy.
I'm going to have to come down and see the improvements at Shea Steve because
we're actually almost done. I know I've been talking about this for years. We're picking at it every weekend. I hurt my back. I did my thing to my shoulder when I fell off a ladder, so stuff slows everything down. But this weekend we are going to finish the mudroom, and we'll be done with all our modifications.
It's been some very nice improvements to the house.
It's also money. You have to plan out. I spent all the money that we got on the refi on the construction.
Yeah.
And of course, we didn't even do that until we could get a rate that would allow us to get the extra $50,000 to do the improvements, the garage and the mudroom and the back room, without having to pay more on our mortgage. Exactly. So we didn't want to, because, that's the situation. You have to manage your money effectively. We have a lot of equity in our house. We were able to use that to get a good rate and to get just enough money to do what we needed to do. And then we've done quite a bit after that, which, of course, has cost us a little more because we didn't, include paying the electrician and having the drywall guy come in and do the back room and, all the other stuff. I did a lot of work, but some of those things I just couldn't do and have them done right. So we had to pay professionals to do it. And that wasn't in the original budget, but we knew we'd get there. So, and that's where we are now. A year later, we're just about done.
Yeah, and I've had houses where I've done a fair amount of the work myself, the drywall, the framing, paneled whole basements, stuff like that. In this house, I've mostly employed people to do it, which is why I have a mortgage instead of owning it free and clear. Things like add-on sunroom that I couldn't have built myself, or upgrading the heating to something that the liberals ought to love, but probably wouldn't, the heat pump system.
Yeah, thermal. Geothermal, right?
Right, yeah. It sucks heat out of the ground, it pumps heat into the ground, and it uses a lot less energy than air-coupled heat exchangers or
one of the coolest things we did, which you obviously don't have to worry about because you've got that. I've seen all your panels and everything. Yeah. It's very impressive. But when we had the addition put in, when we added the garage and the mudroom, we had them put in a connection for the generator, which I hadn't tested yet. And now that's been done for months. And the other day we lost power for, I don't know, it was like 4 o'clock in the afternoon. The power went out, and I went, oh, this is a great opportunity to test this because it's light out, first of all. I don't have to fumble around with everything. And so we hooked it up, and everything worked great. So we're good for winter. Everybody feels better now. They're like, if the power goes out in the winter, which it almost always does at least once, we have the generator hooked up to the house now. We don't have to run cables through windows and pick and choose what we use. I just have to remind him, don't run the dryer, the oven, and the microwave, or you're going to shut that sucker down and have to go back and start it again. But
my generator's a little bigger, but that's because the heating system needs it as well.
Correct.
Yeah, you had your changeover panel put in by Brian Wilson, right?
I did, same guy.
Yeah.
You recommended him. He's awesome.
Yeah, he did me a temporary changeover panel when I borrowed a generator the first time we had everything taken out for a week by a storm, and he came and put in my permanent installation, and he did a great job.
This is your free ad, Brian Wilson, outstanding electrician.
Wilson Technologies out of Brookline.
Great guy.
Yeah.
I couldn't say enough. I mean, it was awesome. So,
yeah.
Anyway. Come on in.
It looks like we got a guest coming in.
What else are we going to talk about?
Come and join us.
How you doing? So, Cato came out with a report on New Hampshire, on governors, on their fiscal successes or failures. And I posted this on Granite Correct this week, and Cato gave Maggie Hassan a D.
For fiscal responsibility?
For being a good fiscal governor. And I have it somewhere here. Let's see. Governor Hassan's tenure as New Hampshire governor is moving the state in the wrong fiscal direction. They talk about taxes. They talk about, her approval of a gas tax, her funding mechanisms, and things like that. And
you mean the imaginary revenue?
They infer it without actually specifically saying it. I did bring that up, but she and I mean now I understand that she's proposing increasing spending by like $2 billion or something like that. So.
I shared that graph. I'm going to have to put it up on the blog. There's a wonderful graph of state spending requests in 2010, 2012.
You emailed that, I think?
Yeah, I did.
Yeah, I did see that,
the biennium where Bill O'Brien managed to persuade Lynch to bring the budget down, and then this year's increase a little under Hassan. And the proposal for the next biennium is just off the charts. But if you draw the line connecting all the high points, well, that's the Democrat trend line. Bankruptcy now or bankruptcy later. But
it's like a 45-degree line, ladies and gentlemen. It looks a lot like this, for those of you who don't know where we are.
Yeah.
That's this lady right here. You see her right here? This is an NRA PVF flyer that I got in the mail, which has this lovely, if a criminal is breaking into your home, should you be allowed to defend yourself or your family? Well, that criminal could be a Democrat legislator raising your budget $2 billion. And the question you need to ask yourself is, where is that $2 billion going to come from? They're going to tell you they're going to take it from business owners like Patrick across the table from me here, or they're going to take it from some rich people who are magically going to just suddenly give $2 billion to the government. What they're going to do is they're going to take it from you and me nickel and dime any way they can, and it's going to depress your economy further. That is what they're going to do when they come after your money.
And that's even if they don't implement a broad-based tax, which is, of course, where Democrats always want to go. They make government so expensive that eventually they say, oh my God, we simply can't survive without a broad-based tax. You're going to have to suffer it. But that's the end game. The short-term game is, let's raise taxes where we can. Let's tax those evil corporations. After all, it's the evil corporations, not you, the people, right? Wrong. Corporations don't pay taxes.
Corporations are made up of
people. But
But
not only that. It's no matter who pays the bill nominally, people pay the taxes, because if the business is crippled by the taxes, the products are going to cost more, and the people are going to get paid less, and it's more expensive for you in terms of hours worked to buy those products or anybody else's products.
Which leads us back to the minimum wage discussion we were having earlier. I mean, not everybody hires at the minimum wage, but if you put a 30% price pressure on those employers, you've immediately pushed their cost of operation up. They either have to fire people, change their products or services, or they have to raise their prices. And you're going to pay for that. So you gave somebody $3 an hour, and now they're going to pay more for everything they buy in the entire state. And, of course, we never really discussed the real reason for this. If the minimum wage goes up, lots of unions have automatic triggers that push their rates of pay up, which means the unions can charge more for dues, which means they will have more money to give to who?
Democrats.
Democrats. So,
although actually some unions are getting a little leery of that. The mine workers union are basically saying, we don't want to hear the name Obama or Obamacare around here. They are so fed up over the war on coal.
Yeah, there's a lot of interesting situations going on there. Of course, Jeanne Shaheen doesn't want President Obama to come to New Hampshire and campaign for her. She basically said, you know what, you should stay in Washington because we have all these crises. Now, of course, he is in California fundraising for somebody else. And we know that the 99% Obama Shaheen really just doesn't want him here because he's bad for her chances at re-election. So
that gives me a couple of real quick. Here goes the music. So first of all,
you got 30 seconds.
That fundraiser that was sandwiched in between, or rather the other way around, a trip to dedicate yet another national monument that's going to prevent mineral extraction was sandwiched between two fundraisers and made into a business trip, meaning we, the taxpayers, pay for it.
Right.
If we, the people, tried that as business owners to go have one business meeting in the middle of a long vacation, we would get audited.
Right. And so the only crisis that Obama is aware of is when he won't be able to play golf next. This is Grok Talk. We'll be right back with Patrick Page. Stay tuned.
When asked whether she still supports Obamacare, Senator Jeanne Shaheen said,
"Yes, I do continue to support the law. We're beginning to see some positive results."
How can Senator Shaheen say we're seeing positive results when 22,000 of our neighbors have already lost their health insurance? What's worse, the Boston Globe reports the state's only health insurance provider radically reduced the number of hospitals in their network, forcing some people to drive over an hour for lab work, even when there's a hospital within a few miles of their home. When pressed about lack of access, Shaheen said,
"There are some hospitals that are not covered, unfortunately, and I certainly hope that's going to change."
Jeanne Shaheen promised us we could keep our doctors and our healthcare coverage. Now she hopes we can get to a local hospital? Call Senator Shaheen at 603-647-7500. Tell her we need more than hope. We need leadership. Paid for by Citizens for a Strong New Hampshire.
Hi, this is Rich Girard, host of Girard at Large in the Morning, the Manchester area's only locally owned, locally operated, focused, and interested riveting radio show, heard live every Monday through Friday from 6 to 9 on 90.7 FM WLMW, New Hampshire Family Radio, and available 24/7 live or archived at girardatlarge.com. Be sure to tune in.
It's the Coalition of New Hampshire Taxpayers. We're located at 8 North Main in Concord, New Hampshire. This is a repository for all things conservative and municipal. So if you have a problem in your town, your school, your budget committee, the right to know law, and now at the top of our list is voter fraud. You have a tip for us, some information for us, you want to join or help us out, cnht.org.
Hi, this is Rich Gerard, host of Gerard at Large in the Morning. You're listening to Grok Talk.